Greetings from a voyage through the rich and varied realm of African American history and culture. We will explore the rich tapestry of African American experiences in this video, including the significant contributions to literature, music, and art, as well as the challenges and victories that have molded the African American community in the U.S. African American history is a tale of tenacity, inventiveness, and fortitude that has permanently altered the landscape of the United States. We will comprehend the long-lasting influence of African Americans on the cultural and social landscape of the country as we examine the towns, cities, and people who have been essential to this story. First, numbers. Michigan's Detroit African American culture's vitality. The distinctive roar of engines and the beat of Motown music may be the first things that spring to mind when you think of Detroit. However, this metropolis is more than simply cars and sultry music. Detroit is one of the blackest cities in the United States because it is a location where history, culture, and variety all come together. Detroit's legendary status in the auto sector is the source of its nickname, the Motor City. It is the home of storied automakers like Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, and the origin of the American vehicle. Beyond the manufacturing floors and assembly lines, Detroit has a rich and vibrant African American history. The African American community in Detroit has had a significant role in shaping the social and cultural fabric of the city. Detroit became a safe haven for those trying to start over, after its history began with the Great Migration in the early 20th century, when many African Americans traveled north in pursuit of better prospects. Neighborhoods such as Paradise Valley and Black Bottom in the city flourished with jazz clubs, vibrant art scenes, and black-owned businesses. Berry Gordy Jr.'s 1959 founding of Motown Records, which has endured, is evidence of the city's lasting influence on the music industry. Legendary performers like Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, and Stevie Wonder were all produced by Motown, and their music continues to inspire new generations. The civil rights movement was significantly influenced by Detroit as well. Walter Reuther, a well-known labor leader from Detroit, helped plan the historic 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, during which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his well-known "I Have a Dream" address. Influential Detroiters who promoted social justice and racial equality in the movement were Malcolm X and Rosa Parks. Detroit is a living example of resiliency and redevelopment today. African Americans in the city continue to influence its destiny through a number of sites and cultural institutions. Offering a comprehensive journey through history and culture, the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History is the largest museum in the world devoted to the African American experience. The Heidelberg Project, an outdoor art space that captures the creative energy of the city, and the Detroit Institute of Arts, home to an amazing collection, are two places to enjoy Detroit's thriving art scene. In the meanwhile, the yearly African World Festival uses food, dance, and music to highlight the various cultures found throughout the African diaspora. In addition to being known as the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan is a significant African American cultural hub. It is proud to be one of the blackest cities in the United States because of its history, music, and civil rights movement efforts. The story of Detroit embodies the spirit of African American culture in the heartland of America. It is one of tenacity, inventiveness, and fortitude. The second, the sounds of jazz, the smells of Creole cooking, and the echoes of a rich and colorful past all pulsate through the metropolis of New Orleans, Louisiana. This fascinating city is a center for African American history and expression because African American ancestry is intricately intertwined into the fabric of its culture. African influence in New Orleans dates back to the early days of the city. New Orleans was a cultural melting pot in the 18th century, with African, Native American, Spanish, and French influences. Although slavery was a terrible reality, the city also benefited from the introduction of African traditions, languages, and rituals that would later become essential to its character. Jazz is among the most important things African Americans have given to the globe and New Orleans. This musical style, which has strong origins in African musical traditions, is distinguished by its improvisation and heartfelt songs. Jazz was invented by New Orleanian legends like Louis Armstrong and Jelly Roll Morton, who made a lasting impression on the history of music. The African American community has been instrumental in the lively Mardi Gras celebrations that New Orleans is known for. A good example is the Zulu Social Aid on Pleasure Club, which was established in 1909. Zulu gives a distinct and lively character to the Mardi Gras parade with its vibrant costumes and intricate floats. Another beloved custom is second-line parades, in which participants dance through the streets to the sound of brass bands. With its origins in African American customs, this joyful manifestation of culture and community is still cherished in the city. The city is dedicated to conserving and disseminating its heritage involving African Americans. Researchers and historians will find the Amistad Research Center at Tulane University to be a great resource due to its wide collection of resources pertaining to African American history and culture. Another treasure that honors the customs and legacy of the African American community in New Orleans is the Backstreet Cultural Museum. Exquisite Mardi Gras outfits, jazz greats autographs, and items honoring the city's rich cultural past are all on display. More than just a metropolis, New Orleans, Louisiana, is a living example of the contributions made by the African American community to American culture. African American heritage is deeply ingrained in New Orleans culture, spanning from the origins of jazz to the colorful customs of Mardi Gras and second-line parades. Future generations will be inspired and enthralled by this legacy thanks to the city's dedication to its preservation and celebration. Third number, Birmingham, Alabama, a historical hotspot for African Americans. Birmingham, Alabama, is a potent representation of the African American community's struggle and eventual success in the U.S. This metropolis, sometimes called the Magic City, has a rich history entwined with the advancement of industry and the struggle for civil rights. Birmingham saw an industrial boom in the beginning of the 20th century, fueled by the iron and steel sector. Seeking work, African Americans flocked to the city, and by the 1920s, they accounted for a sizable chunk of the population. They did, however, experience prejudice and social exclusion in addition to legal issues. During the civil rights movement, Birmingham attracted interest from all over the world. The city was a center of action, and the African American community there, under the leadership of people like Fred Shuttlesworth and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was instrumental in the fight for racial equality. Birmingham had one of the most famous civil rights movement incidents in 1963. The Birmingham campaign sought to remove segregation in the city through a series of nonviolent rallies and marches. The public was startled to see photos of African American children being mauled by police dogs and doused with fire hoses, which increased its support for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. A living reminder of the African American heritage of the city and the fight for civil rights is the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. The civil rights movement and African Americans' achievements to the city and country are chronicled through exhibitions and archives housed at the center. Birmingham's African American community has contributed significantly to culture even after the civil rights movement. Renowned gospel and soul performers like Reverend James Cleveland and the vocal trio the Fairfield Four have come out of the city. In addition, the yearly Birmingham Heritage Festival honors African American culture via food, music, and art, giving local artists a stage and helping to preserve traditional customs. Birmingham, Alabama, has a rich African American past that illustrates the hardships and victories of a strong society. Birmingham's narrative is one of tenacity and advancement, from the industrial development that lured African Americans to the city to its crucial role in the civil rights movement. It still pays tribute to its history today, while anticipating a future that embraces equality, diversity, and justice. Fourth number, the soulful heart of African American history, Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is a thriving example of the American African American experience. This Mississippi River metropolis has made a substantial contribution to the advancement of civil rights and the cultural fabric of the country. Many people believe that Memphis is where blues and soul music first originated. This musical legacy dates back to the early 20th century and has strong roots in the African American community. Renowned as the home of the blues, Beale Street served as a center for African American artists, where luminaries such as B.B. King and W.C. Handy refined their skills. Famous record labels Stax Records and Aretha Franklin produced deep music that helped make famous musicians like Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin. Memphis was an important hub for the civil rights movement. The terrible assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the Lorraine Motel in 1968 was one of the most important occasions. Today, the Lorraine Motel site is home to the National Civil Rights Museum, which is a potent reminder of the fight for civil rights in the United States. For everyone interested in African American history, it is a must-visit as it documents the history of African Americans' struggle for justice and equality. Memphis is committed to honoring and maintaining its African American cultural legacy. The city's African American community's rich culture is highlighted by a number of festivals and events. For example, the Memphis in Beale Street Music Festival honors the city's musical heritage with a varied roster of musical performances. Institutions that support the African American population can also be found in Memphis. Lemoyne-Owen College and Rust College are two examples of historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, that have played a significant role in giving African American students access to opportunities and an education. The history of African Americans is intricately entwined with Memphis, Tennessee. Its influences on music, ranging from soul to the blues, have had a lasting impact on American society. Furthermore, Memphis was a major player in the civil rights movement. The National Civil Rights Museum serves as a moving reminder of this history. In order to preserve its rich cultural heritage for future generations, Memphis still celebrates its African American heritage today. The fifth, a crucible of African American history, Jackson, Mississippi. An important part of the history of African Americans in the U.S. is provided by Jackson, Mississippi. Located in the center of the Deep South, this city has seen the African American community's challenges as well as its victories. Jackson, Mississippi, was significantly impacted by the civil rights movement. The city served as a battlefield for civil rights activists, battling against racial discrimination, voter suppression, and segregation in the 1950s and 1960s. The sad 1963 assassination of civil rights activist Medgar Evers in Jackson is among the most noteworthy incidents. Evers was a well-known participant in the struggle for civil rights and a native of Mississippi. His passing energized the movement and brought the injustices African Americans endured in the Deep South to the attention of the country. Jackson served as the center of attention for the 1964 Freedom Summer voter registration drive in Mississippi for African Americans. Despite threats and violence, civil rights activists, including young college students, came to Jackson to assist with voter registration drives. Greater African American political participation in the state was made possible by their tenacity. Numerous significant sites and institutions honoring African American heritage may be found in Jackson. Honoring the achievements of African Americans to education, politics, and culture, the Smith Robertson Museum and Cultural Center is named for the first African American principal in the history of the city. An important part in activism and education has been played by historically black Tougaloo College. During the civil rights era, it served as a host to prominent civil rights leaders and activists, and remains a hub for African American intellectual and cultural accomplishments. Jackson is a thriving African American community where music, art, and food are all very important. The thriving gospel and blues music sectors in the city provide witness to the resilient nature of its African American populace. The most important gospel and soul music in the nation has been released by the Jackson-based Malaco Records label. Jackson, Mississippi, has a rich African American history that illustrates the community's resiliency as well as its difficulties. The city's varied cultural manifestations, historic institutions, and involvement in the civil rights movement all add to the rich tapestry of African American legacy. Jackson keeps up this legacy while pursuing advancement in social justice, making sure that the hardships and victories of its African American citizens are commemorated and valued for many years to come. We are grateful that you could come along on this amazing tour of African American history and culture. Please remember to hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and share this video with your friends and family if you found this exploration as fascinating as we did. You can support our efforts to raise awareness of and respect for the rich heritage of the African American community by participating with this content. Watch this space for additional educational videos as we continue our exploration of culture, history, and much more. Until we meet again, always remember to cherish variety, embrace unity, and never stop discovering the incredible tales that have shaped our planet. Until the next video, see ya.